So this video is going to take you through some of the stock market project next steps. So your summary sheet looks like this, and really to do it all you need to do is some copying from other places. So I'm going to have this document. So as I scroll, you're going to see, so for example, if I go back to my buy sheet, here is an example of stock example 1. So I'm going to copy that, and if you didn't do it on the computer, that's fine. You can just do it by hand. And I'm going to paste that information into the first 3 columns here. So number of shares, oh darn, the prices are different. It's in a different order. So 100 shares, 23.25, and that will be 2,325. Then I'm going to go to my weekly report 3. And I'm going to see that, oh, that one is now at 24.62. So I'm going to copy 24.62 into my summary report. And then that's worth 2,462. So I'm going to do that for my stock example. I also have a second one. So I'm going to do that for my second one. So again, I'm going to copy that. The order is going to be a little bit different, but that's okay. I'm going to copy and put it into my summary. And I'm just going to change this around. And that will be 100. So there's stock example 1, there's stock example 2, and then I'm going to go to my weekly report 3, copy the price of my stock example 2, and copy the price that it is now worth. I chose easy numbers with 100. Yours are not going to be quite as easy, but that's okay. It's literally just copying down things from other places. So now you have to calculate the percent change. So as it says here, take your final market value, so that's 2,462, divide by your initial market value. So let's take 2,462, let's divide it by 2,325, and we're going to times that by 100. So when I do that on my calculator, I'm going to get 105.89 blah blah blah. Now, it doesn't mean it increased by 105%. I need to subtract my 100, which is my original value. My original value means 100% of my stock. When I do that, I get 5.89%. I'm going to round it to 2 decimal places. So let's see what happens with this one. Again, I'm going to take the 1125. I'm going to divide it by 1358, which is my end. So it's not necessarily the biggest divided by the smallest. It's my end divided by my beginning. So example 1, I gained money. And you're going to notice in example 2, I'm going to lose money. So when I do 1125 divided by 1358, and I times that by 100, I get 82.84. But I remember I have to take away my original 100. That means I lost about negative 17.16%. That means I went down money, I lost money. So there's an example of one where I made money. There's an example of one where I lost money. Now at the end, what you have to do here, total value at start, you're going to have a number, maybe 9,997.62 as an example. And you're going to have a value. What you're going to do is go to your weekly report 3, add up these 5 values right here. What does your portfolio now total? What's the total? And it's either going to be higher than your 9,000, whatever, or it's going to be lower. So let's say, for example, you're now at $10,234.32. Again, how do you get your percent change? You take the end value, this one, you divide it by your beginning value, this one, and you times it by 100, and then you take away 100. So you're going to do the same thing that you did for percent change here. You're going to do the same thing here. And you'll find you either made money or you lost money. And the question is, what percent did you make and what percent did you lose? So that's part one of your project. So you've already completed, if we go back to the beginning, you've already completed number one, you've already completed number two. You're now working on number 3, 4, and 5. So the summary chart is number 4. Number 3 is choosing two stocks and graphing them. So let's take you to that page. That is right here. So there's a series of dates. So let's say, for example, a lot of you bought WestJet. So let's say, for example, we're looking at WestJet, WJA, and we need to track the price. How do I do that? Well, I'm going to go to my TMX site. Now, part of this is cut off because my window wasn't very good. So I apologize for that. You're going to see sort of the basics of the TMX site. To look up, I have to click on price history. So I am on the WestJet one. You just can't totally see it. You can only see the little bit of the A in the corner here. When I click on price history, you're going to see a series. Now, again, you're not going to see, it's cut off. You're not going to see the dates. But on the left-hand side where all these 2017s are, that's all you see, you're going to find, if we go back to here, you need to look at the 17th all the way to May 5th. So when I do that, the 17th of April is actually this one right here. You just can't see the date, but I can. And you're going to go all the way from that one all the way up to May 5th, which is this one right here. And you're going to obviously, remember, do the closing price on them. So from the 17th, it closed at $23.20 all the way to the 5th, which is $22.36. And it went to $23.18, $23.12, $22.91, etc. So what you need to do is record those in your table. So all those numbers are going to get recorded. Then you need to find the highest and the lowest. So when I look at the closing, it's not going to let me highlight that. When I look at just the closing, right in there, the highest value was, I think actually, unfortunately, this one lost money. The highest value was the day you bought it at $23.20. Then, on the 5th, it's $22.36. The lowest it ever got to was $21.58. So we need to figure out a way to choose a scale. So $23.20 and $21. So $23.20 was the highest. And let me go back to that. $21.58 was the lowest. This is the highest. And this is the lowest. So the first thing you need to do is figure out something called the range. The range is the difference between the highest and the lowest. In this case, the range is $1.62. Depending on your stock, your range is going to be small or your range is going to be bigger. It really just depends on your stock. So now what you have to do is, keeping that in mind, you have a graph. So if I simulate, here's my graph. I'm going to put my date along the bottom. So I'm going to have like the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, then 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, then 30, then I have the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. Obviously, you are going to use a ruler. Then up along here, this is where you're going to put your price. So we can put that there. Now the challenge is, you've got a whole bunch of squares up here. You need to go from a range of $1.62. And you've got like probably 30 squares to do it. So what you're going to do is count how many squares you have. Take your range, so in my case, $1.62. So let's take $1.62. Let's pretend there are 30 squares. I'm going to divide that by 30. I get 0.054. So what that tells me is each square, I'm going to go with about 0.05 per square. Remember to use a lightning bolt to show skipping. And my first one is going to be, what's my minimum? 21.58. So I'm going to choose 21.55. Then my next one will be 21.60. Then 21.65. Then 21.70, and so on. I'm going to go up 5 cents each time. Now, obviously, I'm spreading them out a lot, but I would keep going until I get to, what's my highest? 23.20. So I'll probably go as high as 23.25. And I'm going to have a lot in between. Then all I do for the 17th, I look up the price of the 17th. And if we go back here, the 17th was 23.20. And I'm going to put a dot, 17th and 23.20. Then I'm going to go to the 18th, and I'm going to see that that was 23.18. So I might have to approximate. So 18 is going to be somewhere between 23.20 and 23.15. So then I'm going to approximate, and I'm going to end up with a bunch of dots. In this case, most will probably go down, but some might go up, some might go down. And I'm going to get maybe something like that, or I could have it going up or down. You see samples of graphs when you go on to, let's see if it will let me go back one here. So this is a sample of the kind of graph that you're doing, except you're doing it over the course of the last 15 days. So here's an example of WestJet's graph. No, it's not going to load. So, oh yeah, sorry. There's an example of their graph over the last 5 days. You're going to do one over the last 15 days. So we'll have a bit of up and down, and this is an example of what WestJet's done today. So that's what your graph, how you're going to do your graph. Or also, don't forget a title. So we might say WestJet stocks, and we're going to underline that title. We have a label, and we have all of that. So that's how you're going to make your graph. The only other thing you have to do to finish up this project is to write your summary paragraph about what you would do differently if you were doing this again and why you chose the 5 stocks that you chose.